Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak here today. My name is Michael Huppertz, and I'm a journalist and consultant to Blue Energy Group in Germany. And for many years, I was involved in energy congresses, particularly in sponsoring exhibitor relations and the development of exhibition formats in the German energy sector in the environment of institutions such as VDE and BDEW. This work gave me a practical view of energy markets, technology communications, and the way new energy concepts are presented to industry, utilities, municipalities, and political decision makers. In addition, I support the editorial work of the Eurasien Gesellschaft with Mr. Alexander Rahmen, especially on question of energy, geopolitics, dialogue, and European resilience. Today, I would like to speak about an energy resource that is often underestimated, residual waste. Not waste as garbage, but waste as a collection of material streams that may still contain energy, value, and strategic potential. My presentation is called the overlooked energy resource, waste, syngas, and decentralized power in Europe's search for energy sovereignty. My perspective today is journalistic and practical. How can Europe use local resources more intelligently? And how can waste management, heat supply, and decentralized power generation become part of a more resilient energy strategy? Europe's energy strategy is often discussed through a limited set of technologies: wind powers, solar energy, hydropower, hydrogen, storages like batteries, and electricity grids. All of these technologies are important, but the debate is often too narrow because energy is not only electric. Energy is also heat, energy is infrastructure, energy is land use, energy is water availability, and energy is the ability to provide controllable power when wind and solar are not available. Many European countries face additional constraints. They have pressure to reduce landfill. They still have residual waste streams after sorting and recycling. They face limited land availability for new infrastructure. They face drought risk and that affect hydropower. And they need stable heat supply for municipalities, industry, and district heating systems. This is why Europe does not only need more renewable energy. Europe needs a more intelligent energy system, one that connects electricity, heat, waste management, water, land use, and decentralized power generation. Shaped by the 3 Ds, digitalization, decentralization, and decarbonization, which have been well known for years. When we speak about waste, we should not think of one single material. Waste is a mix of different material streams: organic residues, paper fibers, wood residues, such sludge, plastics, and residual fractions after sorting and recycling. Of course, the first priority must always be waste prevention. The second priority is reuse and recycling. But even after these steps, residual fractions remain. And these residual materials create a practical question for many European countries. What should be done with them? Landfilling is under pressure. Recycling targets are increasing. Treatment capacity are uneven, and many existing waste-to-energy systems need modernization. Bratislava example is a useful example for my research. The city already has waste-to-energy infrastructure, but even there modernization could achieve progress, because the challenge is not simply to burn waste, the challenge is to treat residual waste more efficiently, more cleanly, and in a way that connect with electricity and heat supply. This is why waste is no longer only a disposal issue. It is also an infrastructure issue, a heat issue, and an energy strategy issue. The question is not only how Europe disposes of waste, but how intelligently Europe can be used residual materials that cannot be meaningfully recycled. Renewable energy is the foundation of Europe's future energy strategy. Hydropower, wind and solar are all essential, but they are not without limits. Hydropower is valuable because it is renewable and more controllable than wind and solar. But it depends on water, and water is becoming less predictable. Drought, change in river flows, ecological protection, and conflicts around river systems limit how far hydropower can be expanded. Wind and solar are also indispensable. They are scalable, proven, and increasingly cost-effective. But they depend on weather conditions. They need grids, storage, land, and public acceptance. This is not an argument against hydropower, wind or solar. It is an argument for system intelligence. Europe needs a combination of technologies. Large-scale renewables, storage, grids, heat networks, and controllable decentralized energy systems. The future energy system will not be built by one technology alone. It will be built by intelligent combination. When we speak about waste, we should be very precise. Waste is not one single material. It's a mixture of very different material streams. Some of them are biogenic, such as wood, residues, or biodegradable fractions. Some are municipal, such as residual waste after sorting and recycling. Some are industrial or infrastructure related, such as paper fibers or sewage sludge. And some fractions may contain plastics or composite materials that are no longer suitable for high-quality recycling. The distinction is important. We should not say everything can simply be turned into energy. That would be technical and political wrong. The real question is more precise. Which residual materials are suitable? How can they be prepared? Can they be dried, conditioned, and standardized? Can emissions be controlled? Can the process be approved and integrated into our local energy systems? This is where residual materials become strategically interesting. They are already available locally. They often create disposal pressure, and in some cases, they still contain energy that can be recovered. So the key question is not whether waste can simply be burned. The key question is whether residual materials can be processed, standardized, and converted into a controlled energy carrier. After looking at the broader European context, I would now like to introduce one technology example, the blue energy system. The important point is not the present one company as the only solution. The important point is the principle behind the system. Residual materials are not used in an uncontrolled way. They are processed, conditioned, and standardized. Within the blue energy approach, suitable residual materials can be processed into standardized energy carriers, the trademarked blue energy sticks. Their composition can vary depending on the available material streams. What matters is the controlled fuel format. During thermochemical conversion, process parameters such as temperature can be adjusted to achieve the optimal pyrolysis. These standard energy carriers can then be used in compact thermochemical cube systems. Inside this process, the material is converted into a gas. This gas is then cleaned and conditioned. The result is syngas, a usable energy gas that can be used for combined heat and power generation. So the decisive transformation is not simply from waste to energy. It is from heterogeneous residual material to a standardized energy carrier and from there to syngas. Once syngas is available, the next question is, how can it be used locally? This leads us to decentralized cube systems, combined heat and power, and the question of land use. Once synthesis gas becomes available, the next question that arises is how it can be utilized within a viable energy system. This is precisely where compact, decentralized systems gain significance. A thermochemical cube system is not merely a reactor. It is an integral component of a local energy architecture. It interconnects residual materials, gas generation, electricity production, and heat supply. The generated gas can be utilized in combined heat and power plants, CHP in short time. This means that the system generates not only electricity but also usable heat, whether for district heating networks, municipal infrastructure, industrial sites, or local energy grids. Naturally, it can also provide cooling via heat exchangers. This represents a critical distinction. A large portion of the European energy debate focuses on the electricity sector. Yet, in many regions, heat supply is a critical issue for cities, industry, hospitals, residential areas, and existing district heating networks. Another aspect is land requirements. Wind and solar installations require vast areas. They operate volatile and their energy harvest fluctuates. This is not a weakness, but rather inherent to the nature of these technologies. Compact thermochemical systems, by contrast, exhibit a completely different spatial profile. Example, a 4 megawatt cube can be implemented on a footprint of merely around 225 square meters. This by no means implies that such systems are intended to replace wind or solar energy. Rather, they can complement them, particularly at locations where residual materials are available. Heat is required and energy generation is to take place as close as possible to the point of consumption. The strategic added value lies in decentralization, local resources, local energy, and local heat. Let me conclude with the central point of this presentation. Europe's energy sovereignty will not be achieved by one single technology. It will not be wind alone, solar alone, hydropower alone, hydrogen alone, or waste to energy alone. The future will depend on intelligent combinations. Europe will need renewable electricity, but also heat systems. It will need grids and storage, but also controllable decentralized power. It will need recycling, but also solutions for residual materials that cannot be meaningfully recycled. This is where past syngas and decentralized power systems become strategically relevant, not as a replacement for existing renewable technologies, but as a complementary element in a more resilient energy architecture. The stronger Europe becomes in using its own local resources, residual materials, heat networks, decentralized infrastructure, and regional energy systems, the less vulnerable it becomes to external shocks, price volatility, and infrastructure bottlenecks. Energy sovereignty is therefore not only about where Europe buys energy. It is also about how intelligent Europe uses the resources it already has. This presentation has offered a journalistic and technical perspective on residual materials, syngas, and decentralized power systems. If you are interested in technical cooperation, project development, strategic partnerships, or shareholder opportunities related to Blue Energy Group, I will be happy to continue the conversation after the presentation. This is not only a technical question, it is also a question of markets, communication and trusted networks. Together with experts from the Eurasian Gesellschaft, we can support companies and partners in entering the German, Austria-Switzerland region, as well as selected Central and Eastern European markets, especially where energy technology, infrastructure, waste management and regional resilience come together. I thank for your attendance. Thank you.
So, thank you very much.